Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than Milestones. I am extremely excited about today's episode because if you guys know me, you know I love the opportunity to just yap, right? I mean, I'm a yapper. I'm a yapper, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. So, this episode, in case you missed it, is going to be just a silly, fun, solo hot takes episode where I had the community on Instagram submit things that they are curious about my hot take on, whether they might be like a little controversial or just like regular old silly things. So I have no idea where this episode is going to go. I intentionally did not look at any of the submissions prior to starting to record because, I just thought it would be fun. I'm going to take my vest off so it doesn't make like funny noises, but I have my phone here with the submission box pulled up for the first time. So please enjoy. This is probably just going to be a bunch of silliness, but maybe there'll be some spicy stuff in here. So let's get started. Okay. First up, hot take on Jorts. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm a Jorts stan. I will ride or die for Jason's Jorts. We were cleaning out his closet or our closet last weekend, I'm sorry. And I pulled out his shorts and we love to quote movies together. That's like, that's like our thing. It's my thing with pretty much anyone in my life. If you can't know the movie I'm talking about, it changes our relationship a tiny bit. And it's not that I'm like mad at you about it. It's just like, if I can get into like flow state with song lyrics or movie quotes, like it takes us to another level. So he's like, I hold up his shorts and he's like, babe, it's a Fritz Bernays. We cannot get rid of them. And if you don't know, that's from Bridesmaids, but I hope that you know. I forgive you if you don't. Jorts, hot take. My hot take is they're fantastic. Only though, homemade jorts paired with work boots and white socks and a cutoff white tee. Ooh. Chef's kiss. Okay. Uninviting kids to a wedding. Ooh, I guess I have a couple thoughts here initially. My first thought is I don't think that there's a problem with having a kid-free wedding. I think if that's what works for you. One other thing I think people don't really think about sometimes when it comes to weddings is like taking yourself out of it and realizing that like even if it's a child, you still usually have to pay for the plate, and plates are so expensive. Like we got married almost 9 years ago. And even from then to now, and I thought the cost of a head for a plate at a wedding was insane then. Now it's like you are literally not, it's insane. I hope that people realize how much it costs. So I don't at all think it's crazy to say child-free wedding if that's your decision. It's your day. But uninviting is an interesting word to use here, which makes me feel like they were invited and then all of a sudden now the kids can't come. That I don't love because depending on how close it is to the wedding, like did parents already make plans so that they have a hotel booked? Is there, are they flying? I feel like that could get a little dicey. So that's just a wording thing there. I'm not sure what that means. Hot take on pickle potato chips. That sounds fantastic. I love pickles and I love potato chips. So why not? Hot take on taking 3 kids in the library is hell. Also, I'm a lit teacher. Okay, here's the thing. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. It is so different now to take my children out when they are 8, 6, and 4 than it was when they were like 1, 3, and 5, right? Like, so and my children are overall, I would say, typically developing, right? So there's not other things that I need to be thinking about and considering and, all of that bigger picture stuff. So for me, right now, my hot take is like, I genuinely love going places with my kids. And I say that as like very much a homebody who really, really loves to be home. But I also feel like in the last like probably 1.5 to 2 years, I've gotten more and more confident in going other places and like even pushing my own confident or my own anxiety, right? Like I don't love to be in big settings with a lot of people. Like it's draining for me. And especially when my kids are there, I'm like eyes on, constantly surveying, like it's challenging for me in that way. But I feel like been able to push myself from an anxiety standpoint a little bit more in the last 2 years because it's just a little bit easier. And I know that if I say you're right next to me, they know to be right next to me. If like none of them run or anything like that. So I think my hot take is that I actually enjoy it more than I ever have, but I completely understand and can absolutely attest to the fact that it was not always this way. Okay, what else we got? Everything is nuanced. First time me would be aghast at some of the choices third time mommy makes. Literally, heck yeah. Heck yeah. I could not agree with that more. My hot take is like, especially, I think about this all the time lately. I went through in like, as probably like first time mom into second time mom. Like I want to say it was almost like pre-Instagram for me. It was like 2018, 2019 into 2020. And then even in like 2020, 2021, I feel like I was starting to like really question myself a little bit and like push back on myself for some of the things I felt like really strongly about. And I have to admit, and I will absolutely 100% like say that much of this was related to postpartum anxiety for me and trying to control anything I could control, right? So like if it felt like it was a factor in our decision making or my parenting or any of it, and I felt like I could control it by finding research and backing up what I was looking for, that I would feel better about it. And in some ways I did, but I also feel like it was a very slippery slope for me in terms of confirmation bias and what I was consuming and what I was looking at and what I was researching, not even researching from like a high level, but just like what I was believing, right? Without like critically thinking or without like looking a little further or considering nuance or things like that, right? So I was very much in like a literal mindset where it was like, if that felt like good to me, I was going with that. That was going to be the truth. That was going to be where I was at. And what's interesting is a lot of it fell into like the crunchy domain for me, where I would consider myself more of like a scrunchie now, like we eat McDonald's, we eat out some nights, we aren't perfect across the board with low tox and non-tox and all the things. Like I had to give myself some leeway for both myself and my mental health, but also for my family, because it's just not realistic and it's not sustainable. And it's been really interesting to take a step back now that I'm really like re-examining my health in the last like 2 years. I'm working with like figuring out my hormones and figuring out where I can really support my body and figuring out the movement and pushing myself in movement in different ways and like starting running and all of these things. And it has made me realize that like I was really grasping at all of these like low hanging straws, right? Like all of this low hanging fruit where I was like, okay, I can make sure we have no products that have this in it, or we're not eating any food that has this in it. But it was like, I wasn't taking care of myself, me, really, or my family from like an overarching holistic health standpoint, like looking at us overall, understanding like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. There is truly so much nuance. Like, just like this person is saying, there are things that I never would have done as a first time mom. And now as a third time mom, I'm like, girl, what? Like, calm down. But you can't see it then, So I also think that there's a testament to being a first time mom versus a second or a third or a fourth. And it's just like, it's almost like you learn more about yourself and also like what really matters to you, big picture, but also smaller picture, So I 100% agree with this. First time mom would be absolutely aghast as well at some of the things that I do as a third time mom. And I'm like, we're good. We're rolling with it, And that's not to say that I'm not open to like changing my mind or learning new things, but it is to say that I just needed to like literally take a deep breath. Okay, next up, what we got? Pineapple on pizza. I'm going to be honest, I've never had it. So I don't know. I think it sounds like it would be delicious, to be honest. I love anything that is like sweet and salty, savory, and like I think I would like it, but I've never done it. Sharing or not sharing a bank account with a spouse. I hope this doesn't offend anyone. My hot take is Jay and I, our money is our money. It's shared money. And personally, that feels good to me. I can't imagine feeling totally comfortable in a relationship where our money was completely separate. I also just like don't quite understand the need for it, but someone could probably say the same thing about combining, you know? So I think it's just a matter of perspective. But yeah, I personally, it's important to me that we are completely like transparent. We know what we have, we know what we're working towards, we know what's coming in, we know where we have an emergency fund if we need, you know? So um, for me, especially because we have children together that we are both responsible for, it just feels the best to me. But I totally get not everyone feels that way. Parents taking shifts at night to care for their kids. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I think it's whatever works for you and your family. Like for us, Jay wakes up very early to leave for work. He commutes to New York City, which is like about an hour and a half from us. And depending on where his job site is in the city, it could be an even further commute. So for us, it was our discussions, even like leading into having children, was really that I was going to handle night times. And that was fine with me. That felt the most comfortable for me. Also because I am low sleep needs and he is very much not. So like for me, it would have probably caused me more anxiety if he was waking up in the night, because I probably would have been thinking about like, what if he falls asleep while he's driving to work? What if something happens? What if he's drowsy? What if he's on the job site and he's really tired? Like for me, that was just where we landed, and it felt really good for both of us. And that's not to say it was like the easiest 7 years of my life, like not getting a ton of sleep, but it also was something that we felt really strongly about and we agreed on together. So I think if you can, and you're in a situation where parents can take shifts at night and support each other in that way, that's absolutely incredible. And I also think if that's not what works for your family, that's okay too. As long as it feels good for everyone. Like if it's that you're not getting support at night, but you're like desperately wanting it, that's a different story, right? But my hot take in general is if you can take shifts, that's awesome. And if that works for you, that's awesome. And if not, that's okay too. You know? In-laws. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know what's insinuated within that, but I think when it comes to in-laws, one of the more challenging things for me was finding a way to confidently express things that I needed to without worrying how it was going to be perceived. And I think that's just like an adult relationship to adult relationship kind of thing anyway. But the in-law thing adds another component because like, obviously you want them to like you. Obviously you want to like them. Obviously you want to have a good relationship. You want your kids to have a good relationship. And that's not always the way it pans out. But like, for example, as a first or second time or third time mom, it was much easier for me to say to my mom, can you not do that? Like, I would rather they not have that, or I'd rather like, whatever. I don't love that. Can you just not do that, please? I can say that to my mom, no problem. Look at that handle hanging off. My God, just ignore that. It's much easier for me to say to my mom those things and not have to worry that like she's going to get mad at me or she's not going to love me or she's going to think it's because I don't think she knows what she's doing. And it took me a long time to find my voice and like my confidence in addressing those like similar things with my in-laws. And that's not their fault. That's totally on me, But I think when it comes to in-laws in general, there will always be a challenging element for any relationship, because innately, like most people want to or feel like if Jay said something about my parents, my immediate reaction would probably be to bristle. And I'd be like, don't talk about my parents like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's always that element of like, they're your parents and you love them so much. And it's so much easier for you to communicate with them and or to like let certain things roll off. Whereas with in-laws, there's like the added dynamic of your partner's relationship with them and the fact that they're their parents, but also that it can just be challenging, at least for me as an adult, to like navigate conversations that make me uncomfortable with other adults. You know what I mean? That would be my hot take there. Sourdough bread. I think you should go straight to jail if you don't like sourdough bread. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love sourdough bread. I have not been super successful in having my own sourdough starter, but Wild Grain, this is not an ad for them either. wild green, I swear. So that it's like ready, it gets delivered to your door, ready to bake. And it is like artisanal sourdough. They have all sorts of other pastries. It's amazing. It has completely fulfilled the sourdough gap in my life from my inability to be successful with a sourdough starter. But that's not to say I'm giving up. I also bought a bread maker. Why not, Good Lord. Okay, so next up, what do we got? Helmets and not fixing torticollis. Okay, so to me, this is two totally separate things. Helmeting, I completely understand that there is not a ton of really strong evidence, which is a challenge when it comes to pediatrics in general, right? Because the pediatric population is a hard population to really thoroughly do awesome research studies on, just from the standpoint that, like, you can't withhold a treatment that is going to be beneficial for a child, or even like really has the possibility to be beneficial for a child, just to put them up against another child and set them up for potentially a disadvantage. And that's obviously being dramatic about it. But my point is that when it comes to pediatrics, there are absolutely things within this field that are a little bit more nuanced and a little bit different and a little bit more anecdotal, in my opinion, than other aspects of medicine, right? That we have like really, really solid research on. All of these great, like really powerful articles. In pediatrics, sometimes it's a little bit slower, or it takes a little bit longer, or, anecdotally, we're seeing things years and years before the research is there to back it up, but like we see it every single day kind of thing. So when it comes to helmets, there is definitely a lot of controversy around that. My point of view when it comes to a helmet is that I want to make sure, regardless of whether parents are going to move forward with one or not, that you are having a consultation so that you have all of the information available to make a decision, because helmeting is not just cosmetic. I do not care what anyone says. It is not just cosmetic. Even at like the most not cosmetic level or the most superficial level, kids are ruthless, right? And if there is a significant flattening, especially for boys where it's going to show, most likely if they have a shorter haircut, kids, just keep in mind that kids see that. It's noticeable, and whatever. That's not the reason to do it, or it's not, but that is what I'm saying when I'm saying people that say it's cosmetic. Like, first of all, no, it's not. Second of all, from it's not just cosmetic standpoint, if you think about the fact that you can have flattening on the skull and it can just be flattening there, but you can also really, really easily have flattening because their heads are so soft and malleable. You can have flattening that causes the ears to shift. So one ear might be a little bit more forward if it's flat back here. You might have a shift forward on the forehead, or even like the eye, or even the jaw. And you can imagine, even if there is a subtle shift forward on one half of your face, you are going to be up against things like, let's say, depth perception. If my eyes are not seated where they are meant to be seated on my body because my head is shifted forward in one area, think about things like depth perception. As I'm approaching a stair, is my depth perception going to be what it should be when one of my eyes is slightly shifted forward? If I'm chewing, or if my jaw is trying to line up and one part is shifted way forward, could there be difficulties with chewing and swallowing and all of those things? Absolutely. Could there be issues with TMJ because your jaw is not tracking? Absolutely. And then even more than that, and not even more than that, but alongside that as well, think about helmets in general, right? Even as your child gets bigger. So let's say you choose not to helmet, and that is your right to do. Now you go to get your little one in a bike helmet, or a ski helmet, or a hockey helmet, or any sort of helmet that is meant to fit a round head, and your child has a misshapen skull that is not round, they are not going to get the adequate protection that they are meant to get from that helmet, right? Because their head simply does not fit in it correctly. And again, are these all really heavily studied, super well researched? No, but I can tell you anecdotally, I've been in this field for a very long time. I see it. I have seen it. I continue to see it. I'm confident that I will continue to see it even beyond that. So it's not just cosmetic. Whether it's mild, moderate, or severe, there are other things to consider. That's my biggest like soapbox when it comes to helmets. I understand that there are places that are not doing the right thing and they're going to give every baby a helmet, or they're going to tell you they need a helmet when they maybe don't. But that there's bad eggs everywhere, and to write off what could impact so many things along their life, it doesn't feel good to me. Like, I will never be the one to be like, okay, if that's how you feel. Like, no, you need all the information and you need to understand all of it. And then if that's what you choose, that is absolutely within your rights. But I think it's really important for people to have that information and understand that. On the other side of that, torticollis. Absolutely 100% do not leave torticollis alone. We have to intervene when it comes to torticollis. That can truly change everything. It can result in a scoliosis, so like your entire spine curving. It can result in so many things. It completely changes your perception of your world. I have literally treated children that the torticollis wasn't intervened on until late, right? So it was a pretty ingrained movement pattern. And literally, when they were doing more challenging tasks, they have to slightly tilt their head to reorient themselves in the way that they developed, essentially. Like running is torticollis, we need to intervene 100%. As soon as possible, as quickly as possible when it's noticed. But yeah, that's that. Hot take. It's okay to take your shoes off on the plane if you put clean socks on. Yeah. I mean, clean socks on after? Or just like you're sitting in your seat and you take your shoes off? Absolutely. I can't even wear shoes in my car. What? People are flying on a plane with their shoes on? I mean, I wouldn't like walk around, but I would absolutely. I don't know about that one. I love playing card games and strategy games with my kids, but I hate playing pretend. Oh my God, same. Oh, okay. It's so funny that you say this because I was just talking to Jay about this. I can play card games and I can play board games and I love like coloring with them and doing all sorts of stuff like that. Playing pretend makes me want, I wish you could see my face right now. It makes me, I just can't focus. I think that's part of it too. Is like, as soon as I start playing pretend, I'm like thinking about other things. I'm like, oh, and also part of it, I think, is that I'm never doing it right. Like, it's like, no, put that here. Like, I'm just getting like bossed around instead of like actually being able to play, you know? I still do it, but I just don't love it. This is probably a hot take. We do not let our kids win to like sacrifice or to like make sure that they're not sad or like feeling like, no, we're going to beat you. And the funniest part is that Liv now, she is ruthless and we can be trying our hardest. Even like my mom the other day came home and like dropped her off after hanging with her for a little bit and was like, Casey, she like absolutely roasted me in this game. I'm like, no, I know. You put a memory game in front of her and I could be giving it my all. And she's just like, that was cute, Mom. Nice try. So like, I feel very good about the fact that we are raising kids that are slightly competitive, but also can take a loss, because I think that's a really important part of life. And there's nothing that bothers me. Actually, that's not true. There's probably things that bother me more, but it bothers me so much when people are sore losers. Like I do not have patience for that. Like, I'm like, you need to get it together. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Everybody loses sometimes. You got to try harder next time. Like, we have no sympathy for that. So that's a hot take in our house. But I agree with you on this one. Okay, next up. The volume on the TV or in the car must be on an even number or a multiple of 5, obviously. Yes, that's 100% true. The multiple of 5, I've never felt that one, but even, absolutely. Volume on the TV, if Jay puts it on like 13, you're a killer, and I'm not about that life. Has to be even. Even numbers are definitely my thing, though. Wait and see. Come on. You already know how I feel about the wait and see. My hot take is the wait and see belongs in the trash along with anyone that recommends. Football is horrible. Reading about CTE makes me so sad. It needs to go. Honestly, and I know this is going to upset some people, I 100% agree. We do not watch football. We do not watch the Super Bowl really for any reason other than we just don't watch a ton of sports. But I think football, yeah. I agree. I cannot watch someone get struck so hard in the name of entertaining other people that they enter like a fencing pose, like literal brain damage happening right in front of us. It like I feel sick to my stomach even thinking about it. So it's not even necessarily football. It's like the fact that it is so incredibly dangerous. And yeah. Okay. How many times married couples with kids under 5 or even 10 have sex a month? My hot take is that I feel like a guppy right now. I'm like, um, my hot take on this is probably not one that is, I don't know. I feel like a little kid. I don't know how to ask this to other people. And I will just say that I think Jay and I have a relationship that might not be reflective of the majority of relationships. I have a very high drive, as does he, which equals 2 very high drives. And that's all I have to say about that. I could put up a poll in stories though, because I don't really know how to phrase this. My hot take is that if you are not having, it doesn't even have to be sex. I think just intimacy in general or connection, like really connecting with each other. So let's even put like the sex thing aside. I think if you are not carving out time to see each other and fulfill, I don't even know how to say that, like not a need, but like I think it's important to connect with each other in that way. And it also, like, for me at least, it's like that that is like our, and again, not even just talking about sex, but just talking about like connecting and intimacy and like carving that time out for each other. That to me is like how we've kept our relationship solid and strong as Casey and Jay, not as mom and dad, not as husband and wife, not as, literally just as like Casey and Jay, the people that fell in love with each other. Like that, being super intentional about that in the midst of parenting has really been huge for us. So yeah. Is a hot dog a sandwich? That's tough. Honestly, I'm gonna say yes. And here, my initial thought was, no, it can't be a sandwich because it's not open on both sides or on all 4 sides. But then you have like a sub sandwich that isn't open on one side. I think it's a sandwich. I think it's a hot dog bread ketchup and mustard sandwich. Here's a hot take for you guys. Jay thinks it's abhorrent that I put ketchup on a hot dog. I put ketchup and mustard. He only puts mustard. He thinks it's so weird, and he loves ketchup. That is crazy to me. No hot dog on a ketchup? I mean, no ketchup on a hot dog? That's ridiculous. Um, Inappropriate music for kids, aka my 3-year-old loves Ozzy Osbourne. I'm gonna be honest, my kids listen to our music. Like, we do not play baby music in the car. There's no kids bop. Now that's what I call kids bop. Nothing. None of that. The only thing is I make sure that we don't download like the explicit versions of anything. So if there's a song I really love, like A Millie by Lil Wayne, my kids, Audrey can actually rap that song, which I don't know. For me, that's like a pride point. Like, I'm like, get it, girl? Yeah. Eminem, Dr. Dre, they're like, she's got it. It's amazing. That kid's musical talent and the array of what she listens to and enjoys is like, I'm so proud. Like, I'm so proud. So no, I don't think there's, again, my boundary is the cursing. And like, if it'll probably be different when they get to the point that they can like actually understand some of the lyrics. Like, I will definitely do away with some of the more like whatever, even if it's not explicit words, like explicit like undertones. I'll probably chill with that very soon. I actually kind of already have, but in general, they listen to what we listen to, and I do feel like they will be very musically well-rounded. Me, wine culture, I think it's so toxic. Oh my God. Oh my God. My hot take is I don't think that people understand how pervasive alcohol is in our society and how normalized it is to like genuinely have a problem with alcohol. And I think that mommy wine culture, I can kind of understand where it started. Like, oh, motherhood can be hard. Absolutely. I need to like relax at the end of the day. Totally get it. Same. I think when we are normalizing the use of alcohol for that's where it becomes a concern for me, because alcohol is literally, it's poison. Like it's literally poison. Ethanol is poison. Like, I don't think people understand that. Like, it has become so normalized. And I'm not I'm not 100% sober by any means. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking specifically about mommy wine culture and like the mommy needs wine, mommy needs, like, I have seen, it's not good. There are so many other vices, so many other things that we can do for ourselves, but also to like set an example for our children that like you don't need a substance to help you through a tough day. Like, you can go take a walk, you can journal, you can read, you can stitch. I don't know. Like, I think it's really toxic, and I think it's really dangerous, honestly. And I think it's really dangerous for people that are using it as an excuse, or using it as yeah, I would say an excuse not to look at their alcohol consumption. That is also, that's a big one. Okay. Co-sleeping. So, co-sleeping is a slippery, not slippery, is one that I kind of stay away from. I think if you're following safe co-sleeping guidelines, truly following, not just like I mean, like, you research, you understand, you are following all of them, and that's what you choose to do. I think that that's your right as a parent. Um, we Once we got a floor bed, when the kids were like they were all over 1 at that point, there was definitely more times where it was like bed sharing, but again, they were over a year old. I never felt comfortable straight up co-sleeping, just because, again, I'm an anxious person, and no matter how much I researched, I couldn't stop like replaying certain scenarios in my head. So for me, it was a no, but I think that if you are empowered and you know how to safely do it and it feels like the right fit for your family, what I do think is completely natural is responding to our children at night. And most people that follow know that I didn't sleep train any of the kids. I chose to wake with them. We still wake with them. They come downstairs, they get into bed with us, all of that sort of stuff. But the actual co-sleeping, especially when they were younger, it just was not something I felt comfortable choosing. But bed sharing was absolutely something that was and is part of our life, even until now. So, yeah, co-sleeping can be a tough one, but I think there's space for everyone there. Okay. Wearing jeans is not dressed down. Sweatpants or leggings for life. Team elastic sweatpants or waistband. I don't know if I totally understand that. Wearing jeans is not dressing down. Sweatpants or leggings for life. I would agree that wearing jeans is not dressing down. I would think if I'm putting a pair of jeans on, it's because I'm going somewhere, like I'm doing something. I completely agree though. Sweatpants, I don't love sweatpants only because I'm so tall. Sweatpants never fit me right. Leggings, your girl's always in leggings, and I do love jeans, but I agree they're not dressing down by any means. Bathrobes. What's the point? Not going to be naked underneath because kids not wearing overclothes. I don't wear bathrobes either. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because the thought of putting my wet skin against like terry cloth fiber is enough to send me into an absolute tailspin. I could vomit just thinking about it right now. You put anything on my arms or my upper back, if my hair is wet and it touches my upper back, game over. Literal game over. My sensory system can not. You put me in a neck to wrist bathrobe while I'm wet, scraping that on. I used to swim. Maybe this is where it came from. I used to be a swimmer, like a competitive swimmer, and getting dressed after you're out of the pool and you get your suit off, even once you're dried off, the ones that get it will get it. It is like you're fighting for your life. That's how I feel even now thinking about pulling a bathrobe on. I want to vomit. It's an absolute no for me. I think you're a killer if you wear a bathrobe. I'm just kidding. I don't mean that part, but okay. What else we got? I think we might have gotten through all of them. The Olympics. I don't really know that I have a hot take on the Olympics. Is there a controversy around the Olympics? I love the Olympics because I love seeing people work hard at something and be phenomenal. I love seeing humans push themselves to do things that like don't seem humanly possible. Like, did you literally see that there is a Winter Olympic event where they sprint uphill while wearing skis, and someone did a mile in sub 6? Like, I learned that 3 days ago. I still cannot wrap my head around it. Like, I'm like, I can't even dead sprint a mile on a completely flat terrain on a track. I could not do that in sub 6. They are running uphill in skis. It's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I also saw this reel. It was hilarious. And he was talking about like basically like making a joke about how they came up with the winter events or the Winter Olympic events. And he's like, what if we put a human inside a metal thing and we make a track and we just shove them down it at like 70 miles an hour and see what happens? And like all of the events he did it for, and it was so spot on, but more so as to like how incredibly wild some of the things that these humans have put their body through and they're excelling at. Like that to me, I just think that's like absolutely mind-blowing. So that's a totally separate thing, but I don't know about like a controversy or anything with the Olympics. So I'm just going to say my hot take is that I really enjoy it. No gift birthday parties for kids. I love this. I love this. I also love gifting experiences over actual like presents. I feel like there is nothing as overwhelming, probably not nothing, but there are a few things as overwhelming as when the birthday party is done and you look at all of the toys that you have and you're like, oh my God. One thing a friend of ours does that I love so much, and I have actually talked to the kids about starting to adopt, is they have their guests bring like a backpack filled with little things that they can then donate. So they donate the whole backpack either to their school if they have a backpack program or to just somewhere else. But it's like a donation-based birthday thing. And I was like, I love that so much. But yeah, I agree. My hot take is that if we can avoid gifts, I think that's amazing because they have it. They don't need it, you know? I think experiences are so much more valuable. Chair towers for children. I'm not sure totally what that means. I think you mean like a kitchen tower. We have one. We've had one since Audrey was a baby, and I honestly absolutely love it. I feel like it has been a game changer for getting them involved in the kitchen more than anything. So like helping with cooking, especially for my kids that were a little bit more on the selective eater side, getting them actually involved and helping with meals using the toddler tower that we have was like such a game changer. I also feel like in terms of like just helping with chores, and all of my kids have gone through at least a solid phase, if not that they're still in it, where they want to stand to eat. So like we have an old church pew that my parents like thrifted. I painted it. It's at our dining room table, and my kids stand on that and eat. And that's just like how it is. And I think that a lot of times we get really in our heads, especially about like, make sure they're in a high chair, make sure they're in a good position. And it is important. Obviously, like that safety is important. But there's also real life when it comes to having kids, and like they might not want to sit. They might, whatever the case may be. So I think that they're fantastic for getting kids involved in the kitchen and for, just participating in the kitchen in general. But in terms of like standing and eating in them, I think that there are better options if you can. But yeah, what's my hot take on that? Okay, we're 45 minutes in. I got through the vast majority of them. I kind of love this. I might do another one like this. So let me know if there are other hot takes you want to hear about. I hope I didn't really make anybody super mad, but yeah, this was fun. We'll see you next time on another episode of More Than Milestones.